Hi there. You all will agree with me that there's an unmistakable soul in celluloid. A warmth, a depth, a memory etched into every frame. It's why film still feels alive, while digital often feels clean but disconnected. But let's be honest, shooting real film is expensive, is unforgiving, and out of reach for most creators. So, the real question isn't why film, it's can we truly recreate it? I've graded our digital footage side by side with stills from the award-winning film Sinners. And what I discovered genuinely surprised me. Now, full transparency before we go any further, Dehancer did reach out and invite me to review their product. That said, my approach remains exactly the same. This is an independent, professional evaluation based on real-world use, industry standards, and the same critical eye I apply to every tool in my workflow. Dehancer is a film emulation plugin built on real color science, not presets or any guesswork. If cinematic color, storytelling, and industry-level craft matters to you, you're in the right place. Subscribe and hit that like button. It helps the channel reach filmmakers who care about doing it right. Now, let's get into it. Let's be honest, a professional grade is only as good as its structure. I am just going to get there using two nodes, Dehancer and primaries. The rest will just be me trying to use masks to make things more cinematic. The purpose of this video isn't about color grading, so I'm not gonna be doing all of that color space transform and all of that. I really wanna show you the power of this film emulation plugin. The goal here isn't to add an effect. It's to create a controlled environment where the plugin can actually perform the way it was developed. All right. Consistency is key. So on our Dehancer node, we need to match the camera's DNA. We drop Dehancer onto this node here. Now, don't get distracted by the default look. It's usually too heavy-handed. Professional colorists always start from the bottom, start from zero. So we scroll to the bottom and hit Disable All Tools. For this footage, I'm working with the Sony A7S II shot, and it was shot in S-Log. This kind of provides the cleanest starting point for my look. So we just select that. We move to the heart of the look, the film stock. Every stock has a different personality. For this footage, I'm enabling the Kodak Vision 350D. Instantly, you can see that characteristic shift in the highlights and that organic roll-off that digital sensors just can't replicate natively. So you can see it's It's already changed the image slightly. There's a lot more we can do to make it look how we want it to look. So let's actually go to the print tab and enable it. This is obviously the whole process when you're printing film. It obviously gets printed, and this is going to be the kind of effect that we're getting here. For me, I'm going to pick the Kodak 2383. This is one of my favorites. I love this look. After that, I'll go back to the input and see what I can do with my exposure. I'll put that down a bit. And for the temperature, I'll also adjust that about right here. The tint, I'll also adjust, but I'll leave the fringe and the radius as is. I'll then open the Film Developer tab. We'll enable this. And I'm wanting less contrast in the image. So we'll go to the contrast boost and then pull it down a bit. That looks good to me. We'll do the same with the color. There's not much saturation in the shot, and we'll up the color boost as well. And that's starting to look better already. Now, back onto the Print tab. We'll have a look at the target white, which we can either warm up the image or cool it down. That looks right to me. I'll then pull down the exposure a bit. Remember, when color grading, micro adjustments make a whole lot of difference. About there. Now, tonal contrast. I would lower that, and then we can look at the color density. So we're going to raise it up a bit, just a bit. And for saturation, I'm going to leave it at 100. Now we'll go into film compression and enable this. Straight away, that makes a huge difference. So let's look at impact. What impact does is it brightens or darkens the highlights. So we'll increase that a bit. Tonal range. Tonal range affects the contrast in basically the tones. Obviously, you can make it higher or lower. But for me, I'm going to leave it at 30. And then we have color density, which slightly affects the saturation in the colors. Now, we're going to the Expand tab and enable that. And basically, it's just the black points and the white points. You can make the black points brighter or darker. For us, we're going to make them slightly darker. And I'm leaving the white points as is. Now, we can close that tab and go over to the Color Head tab. Now, we can add or subtract yellows, blues, magentas, greens, cyans, and reds throughout the whole image using this tab. For me, I think I like the film look I have so far, and I wouldn't be touching anything here. Now, we're going to the shadow stone. Let's enable that. This basically makes the shadows warmer or darker. And for me, I'm going to bring them down so that we can have more contrast and so that the shadows may be more blue and the skin tones are more orange, which is slightly towards that teal and orange look. Mid-tone stone. Again, this is making your midtones either warmer or cooler. We're going to make them a little bit warmer and go to say 8.5 here. Now we've finished pretty much everything in terms of contrast and saturation. So now we're going to go towards the kind of film character that we're talking about. Let's talk about grain. Digital noise is ugly. Film grain is beautiful. The Dehancer grain engine is incredibly sophisticated because it's based on actual film scans. So we'll enable the grain module here. We're looking for natural density and size. Pay attention to how the grain interacts with the different focal ranges. I usually start with a medium or fine setting and then adjust the amount and softness to taste, making sure it feels integrated and not pasted on. This is where your eye for detail truly pays off. Remember, less is often more here. The goal is texture and not distraction. So there's different millimeters, as you can see here, and different ISOs to play around with. So if you go for a smaller millimeter, then the film grain is going to be bigger. If you go for a higher ISO, then there's going to be more grain. As for me, I use 35 with a 250 ISO. So you'll still have that bit of grain that is not too distracting. You can also play with the amount, as you can decrease that or slightly increase it. I usually like having it around 12 to 15. So here we have 12.3. Now for the magic that truly sells the film look. Halation. What is halation? That is the subtle red glow around intense highlights, mimicking how light bleeds on real film emulsion. It's often overlooked, but it's crucial. We're going to enable it. Be subtle here. Too much looks artificial. This isn't about making your image glow. It's about adding that authentic analog imperfection that feels right. So it's kind of similar again, where the smaller the film size, the more halation you get. So I'm going to go with the 35, Super 35. And I'll leave it at 70 instead of 100 for the amplifier. Next is bloom. So we'll open that and enable it. Again, this is the same where the smaller the film size, the more bloom you get. I'm gonna still stick to 35 because as a DP, I love working in that format. This, the amplifier, I'll leave at 50%. And as you can see, this is really looking like film, still with just one node. So we can add things like film damage, which is kind of like scratches and different imperfections that you would get from obviously film. I'm not adding that to this, but I can show you how it looks. Yeah, look at how it looks. You can also have film breath as well, which is the subtle changes in exposure, contrast, and color, which you get from film moving through a camera or a projector. I'm not gonna use that either. Gate weave. That's like a subtle, shaky movement, which is when film moves slightly left and right as it gets pulled into the camera. But we're not going to add that. We'll leave that off as well. You can also have overscan, which has the different kinds of film borders which you would get from things like the Super 8 and 16mm films. I'm not adding that here. And then the last thing that I'm going to be adding here is the vignette. So we'll click on that tab and enable it. And if you go into the mask mode here, you can see where the vignette is. So you can actually make it bigger or smaller, add feather. You know, you could change the aspect ratio as well. Dehancer has one of the best vignettes I have ever used, to be very honest. I'll fiddle with the vignette exposure a little bit. And voila. I think we have our look. Beautiful, isn't it? I'll quickly do the other footages, which are from a different camera, but I'm leaving everything as is. So I'll change the input to the Canon C400 and C-Log 2. Take a look at that filmic expression. I've placed our graded footage side by side with stills from Cine's. And quite honestly, the difference is almost imperceptible. That's the level of accuracy we're talking about. It wasn't any of this copy the grade things or using AI to create a lot. It's just a plugin, Dehancer. Dehancer is a film emulation plugin trusted by professionals to replicate the texture, color science, and organic response of real film. If you were ready to move beyond the flat digital look and achieve a true cinematic aesthetic, this is it. This is the tool that gets you there. And the best part, Dehancer offers an iOS app that's just as intuitive and powerful, making high-end film emulation accessible wherever you work. Just go to the App Store and type Dehancer in the search bar. Select Dehancer Film Emulation and download. When finished, start the app and sign in to your Dehancer account and start creating film. Your purchase of Dehancer gives you access to the app so you can keep making films on the go. be it on DaVinci Resolve, Premiere Pro, Final Cut, After Effects, or iOS, Dehancer's got you covered. And there you have it, a powerful, professional approach to film emulation within DaVinci Resolve using Dehancer. By understanding the why behind each step, from color space management to the subtle art of halation and grain, you are not just adding effects, you are authentically recreating the soul of film. Experiment, refine, and bring that cinematic magic to your digital projects. If you're ready to elevate your work and get that authentic film feel, I genuinely recommend Dehancer. I've put the link below for you to access that product, and you could use my code TJSeaman to get 10% off. This is the tool professionals trust, and it's a solid investment in your craft. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.